Starltrost back here with a news video for JP again, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. This week we have a lot to cover because I was on vacation last week and I completely left them behind, these poor Star Ocean units. So we're going to cover them today in this news video, even though the current maintenance is covering something completely different, Final Fantasy X. And since there's a lot to discuss today, I am alone because I didn't want to bore somebody else through all this again. So the first unit, let's dive right into it, right? So the first unit we're covering here is Traveler from the blue planet Claude, which sounds like Cloud, I know, and most people are going to pronounce Claude, but I can't help it, I'm French. So even though his name sounds just like Cloud, most of his kit is also very similar as well. We're going to see throughout this video. So first is TMR, a little bit disappointing, just 68 attack, light armor. So as soon as you can get as this TMR, no one's going to ever equip this again. Is this TMR pretty standard here with a demon and human killers? So if ever the unit you're using isn't using his own STMR for his weapon, then that can be something very useful for the killers. Otherwise, you know, it's just going to stick onto him and that's all. In terms of categories, he is a light, fire, ice, guardians, elite soldiers, and savior unit. He is also Star Ocean. There's 3 units in the category, and another world for the all the collaboration units. So basically he's Cloud for fire, ice, and light. So he shares fire with him. Otherwise, it's different elements. His EX ability, once you get him to EX3, is a 500 flat attack for the Saviors unit. If you happen to pull for him and get him to EX3, of course. Now, for his kit, he has a selfish 150 amp for fire, ice, and light. He also has at EX2 that very, very good 200% light and peril. So you can finally put Penelo to rest if ever you used her somewhere. So that's very, very good to have that on a relevant unit. Otherwise, he has the 500% LB buff and the 400% when he is not at EX anything. The standard here for the LB buff and standard for the chaining abilities, he has fire, ice, and light, and non-elemental has 300 for the bolting strike. He has a killer buff here for himself and a friend, 200% to human and insect, so you're going to see a lot of insect killers in these units because of dark visions. He has the self-imbue for fire, ice, and light. And here this is exactly the same ability as Cloud has, except it deals fire damage. But here you got the break for for attack and magic, 85%, and defense and spirit, 89%. And 140 in peril for the 3 elements he covers. You have here something that decreases the physical accuracy for 2 turns. Not something that's ever relevant except for the current dark visions, because you know their mentality of creating a problem and selling the solution, since the boss has 50% accuracy on a lot of attacks. And he has, once again, same as Cloud, this 300% attack, defense, magic, and spirit break, and the field for fire, ice, and light. So it's 30% amplify and 20% imperil. Low numbers, but same as Cloud. So it can be the like the little jack of all trades field unit that you can bring, and that's about it for his kit. He can do a 50% sword and gun imperil. Not that we've seen a lot of gun users recently, so it's mostly for the sword imperil anyway. As for his passives, nothing really to write home about, but he does have 200% Omni Killer, so that's pretty nice. A nice 1500 flat stat here from equipping his TMR or STMR. A little bit of evasion, and that's about it. Now, if we keep going for his leader skill, it's a 1250 for the saviors, so that's nice, and 750 for the light category. I don't remember exactly who fits in the savior category. I think, oh yeah, I think it's all the main characters of all games, so you get a little bit of mishmash in terms of elements there. But you do have Terra in there, so she can give 150 amp to everyone, if they're fire, ice, or light, which happen to be all three of his elements as well. In terms of LB damage, once again, same as Cloud. However, instead of being 1100, it's 1090, so just a little less. The trade-off though is that he's chaining Bolting Strike as opposed to Cloud, who isn't chaining at all. And that's about it for our friend Claude. Now, next one, Girl with Healing Powers, Rena. So basically Rena, she was a very good support unit if you had her 7-star before, but that's not what we're talking about today. Her TMR, nothing really great there, except there's this weird thing that we don't see too often there, increasing the drop rate for the common items. And her STMR is a very good robe with 104 magic, giving her obviously flat magic as well. Her categories are Light, Earth, Guardians, Saviors, and Battlefield Maidens. The Maidens haven't really been relevant at all. However, it's all about to change when we're going to talk about the units for the second update that we're going to cover today. Now, if we look at her, the EX ability is a 500 flat magic for Guardians. I don't think there are too many magic users in the Guardians, except her, basically. Now, if we go look at her kit, before, she does have a weapon that you can go and craft from the weapon quest, and that's definitely your best in slot, giving her 500 flat magic and 228 magic as a fist. I'm pretty sure it's the highest magic fist out there, so definitely do go and get it, even if you don't have her. But it's really good for her, obviously. Now, in terms of her kit, she does have 150 self-amp for Earth and Light. Earth, you can just forget about it. It is the element that's been sent to the Shadow Realm with all the collab units, and she doesn't really change that because she's also a collab unit, right? But Light, though, a lot more relevant. If we look, well, the rest, obviously the 500%, so that's pretty standard. She does have this, which is pretty nice. So that's a Nethicite on demand. Then she has a triple and quad cast because she's a mage. She can revive a unit because, you know, she's a girl with healing powers, so she gotta have something to heal somewhere. She's got some chaining abilities for Light. She's got some chaining abilities for Earth as well, low here. She does have a stat buff, 300% for everyone, plus a 25% accuracy if ever that was relevant, which I don't think it ever was, because you can't bring her into that Season 4 tower, where I think it's the only place ever where accuracy was a big problem. Anywho, and then if you keep going, she does have this very useful ability here. Once again, we're just going to forget the Earth part of it, but it's for Earth and Light. 70% amplify for your team and 40% imperil for the enemy, so very good. It's, you know, 1 unit for the for both fields, very good for a light team. So if you got her, definitely bring her to your light parties. She can also fill the LB gauge by 15 to one ally, so if you quad cast that, that's a 60 LB gauge to a unit, only 1 unit, but still very useful when you want to go and spam that LB all the time. She has here magic mitigation 50%, 300% spirit buff, not much. She has that 1 healing ability for when you're going to need healing if ever that happens. She's got this, which is pretty useful here. So it's removing all the debuffs, removing all these status ailments, and increasing resistance to all status ailments and stop and charm. So that's usually what we were using healers for, I guess, at all. So that's really good. She got re-raise for one ally as well. So, you know, she has healing powers. It's just that healing powers haven't really been useful at all lately. She has this little gem here as well, which once again is, you know, creating a problem, selling the solution. So if you look at the current Dark Visions, the final boss is going to drain your MP like crazy and you need to find solutions for it. Well, she is the solution for it if you have her, because she can, for free, like this is a free ability, no cost, is going to recover 750 MP to everyone. So she just is a solution to that problem. If you have her. If you don't have her, I've heard people using Ihana with a counter build. So if you use Mirage, and then there's an AoE physical attack that she counters, she's going to give you 2-stack Mirage, and she's going to give you 150 MP to everyone as well. So that's pretty useful. But, you know, it's not 750 like Rena. But still, there's the Mirage. So I'm much more sold on Ihana for this. Plus, Ihana also has killers for bugs, for insects, sorry, which happens to be the race for the DV boss. But anyway, I'm not here to sell you Ihana, nor to sell you Rena at all. I'm not here to sell anything. This is not sponsored. Anyway, moving on. She has that earth chaining I talked about earlier. She has that modifier buff for the bigger abilities here at EX2. So when she's EX2, her earth chain is also on par with her LB. It's around, like, I think it's 822 as opposed to 830 for the LB, so very, very close. The rest of her kit, nothing really special. She has 200 killers for 6 races, including, of course, insects. If we keep looking, yeah, that's about it. And here, this is her chaining abilities with all the unlocks, so for light and for earth. So what's good about her is she does that little shtick that Tara started doing, and I hope all mages going on will keep doing. So that when you cast the base chaining ability, you have the focus on it, leading into your big chaining ability at the end with this one. She does have a 1,000 liter skill for light. So if you're doing a pure light party, she can be a leader, but once again, what you're looking at usually is a 1,250 instead. But she has it, so it's just good to be there anyway if you need it. Now for her LB, well, that's an 830 times, as I said earlier, and that's about it for her. Now moving on to the next one. Innocent Inventor Precious. Well, Precious, I have never played Star Ocean, and I will not decide to pronounce this in French because I'm not sure that should be French anyway. Whatever. So Precious is at time of release, she was a little bit unfortunate because of her categories, because she only has Lightning, Star Ocean, Another World, let's not mention them, and Battlefield Maidens. So being only one element and one major category, that was a little bit unfortunate, especially since the Battlefield Maidens weren't supported at the time. However, now when we're going to look at Riku in a couple minutes, you're going to see that suddenly she's pretty good. So her TMR is some physical evade, which is pretty nice, and insect killer. You know, low attack, but it's an accessory, so it's not bad. And also MP recover per turn, which can be useful after the MP drain from the Dark Visions boss. Her STMR is a 200 Fist, yes. So as you see, there's a lot of Fist users right now around, so that's pretty good for synergy in your teams. Gives her 1 stack of guts and also 2,000 flat attacks, so it's very, very good for her flat stats. She actually has a lot of those. Her EX ability at 500 for the maidens. And if we go look lower at her kit, you know, the usual here. I don't really need to cover this again. Here she has an ability that will unlock something else, which will power up her cooldown move here. However, her LB is already non-elemental, so I don't see why you would be using this. And it has a downside of needing to be chained with this before for full efficiency, which is locked to lightning, so that's not really good. So you're always going to be using her LB anyway. And her LB is actually very good. We're going to look at it in a second. But before, she also has, for herself, only herself, she is a selfish unit, a 200% killer buff for human, machine, and insect. Obviously, as I said, we're going to see it everywhere. And she has 160 lightning barrel, which is, you know, not the best, but nice to have. And here you have, this is what you want to see. So just a little stat buff for herself, but here, this is the LB modifier for her base LB, and this over here, modifier for her SLB at 200 times, plus, you know, the thing that they all, like the passive that they all have at the beginning for the first 5 turns. So we're at 300 plus 120, so that's 420. So 420 on top of 880, so that's a 1300 times modifier for her LB. This is the very highest that we have, even with the newer units. Well, newer, you know, 10 years newer. 10 days. Sorry. Anyway, so even the units that we just had now, she's still way over them. So that's very strong. You know, the only downside being that she needs to be supported with a maiden leader or a lightning leader, which both happen to be Riku. So if you don't have Riku, well, too bad. You're not really going to be using her unless you're using her on a cloud team with just a 1000 leader skill. And I mean, even then, she is also a 1000 leader skill for lightning, so you don't really need cloud for that. And that's about it for her. Well, she does have the 50% fist imperil innately, so that's pretty nice. And also good for the for team synergy if you're using other fist users. Now, we're finally going to be moving to the current patch. So what is currently being added to the game through the maintenance. We have our first unit here, Blitz Ace Tidus. So our boy Tidus is coming back to play Blitzball for us. And he is a, I think he's gonna change, well, he's definitely meta changing in terms of what he's bringing, so that's very cool to see. So his TMR here, if we just, forgot to do this before. So if we just look, his TMR is, you know, pretty basic, but it gives you that 200 S per stat, so that's pretty nice. That I think it's a callback to the 5-star Tidus was it STMR or TMR? I don't remember, but it gave 100% bonus S per stats, so now you got 200 there. Just a little callback. His STMR, just a regular sword with insect killer. as I said, you're going to see it everywhere with these units. And yeah, so 239, pretty standard. So that's about it. His categories, so that's where it gets interesting. He has water, ice, light, and lightning, so 4 elements. He is also Final Fantasy X, obviously, but also a guardian and a savior unit. So savior to fit with Claude if ever you wanted to use them together in an ice team or a light team. And he is himself the leader for Guardians. I think Guardians is mostly light and water, so that also fits very well together there. If we keep going, he has a 500 flat attack for Guardians once again. And if we go look at his kit, you know, the standard here for the LB buff, but here at EX2 is where it gets interesting once again. He has the same ability as Terra here, so AoE 150 amplify for ice, lightning, water, and light, all four of his elements. So that's extremely good and very, very versatile. You're basically gonna need him in any elemental team that fits his element. So that's really, really, really good. You know, he can't imbue these elements for the rest of the team, but usually if you're using these elements, the other units can imbue them and can imbue themselves. So that's very, very good. You're going to want your Tidus to be EX2 as fast as possible if you pull for him. I know I will give all my 2000 lapis to try and get him as fast as I can. Now his LB mod buff, as usual, everyone has the same. He has water chaining at 450 instead of 400 like all the others, 350 for the bolting strike, but it's not really what you're looking at. Here is this is off. I feel it's a little wonky. I'm not a fan of this, but anyway. So they made these cooldowns to buff his final ability here. And everything is on an 8 turns cooldown, and you can only cast it on turn 8. But they gave him this really nice ability here to reduce the cooldown by 1 turn. So you triple cast this 3 times, and then you can cast 2 times, and then on turn 3 you can cast these. So it's basically an SLB, which is cute but useless. Because you're gonna want to use this LB anyway, and since he's an overdrive unit, so he's not an SLB, he's not a shift unit, he's an overdrive unit, you can just spam his LB as much as you want, as long as you have someone to refill his LB gauge, and he is someone to refill his own LB gauge with either this move or that move when you want to decrease the timers of his cooldowns as well. So you know, I guess it's for flavor. Now, he also has a 89% defense and spirit break, so no 85 for attack and magic. A little bit unfortunate if you wanted to compare him to Cloud, for example. So he's not really comparable because he doesn't have the imperils either. But he does have an imperil field for all 4 elements, so that's really, really good. So ice, lightning, water, and light once again. He's got the self-imbues for those elements, which also bring a 50% amplify. So if you're during a longer fight, that's actually interesting. It's not bad. It's certainly not good, but it's better than Enthandaga or Enfiraga or whatever. So still, it's there. That's a mud buff at EX1 for his big ability, which is basically Blitz Ace. This one here, which ends up in the end being exactly the same as his LB. So there's no real reason to use it, in my opinion. He does have a 200% Omni Killer as well, and pretty good flat stat as well with the 1500 here, and 500 at EX3, and his EX ability as well. So and his STMR, so that's pretty good. He has a preemptive break for defense, a little bit like Cloud. And then 145 break for all 4 elements as well, but it's just 2 turns, so usually you're not going to be ready to burst before this goes away. Here he's a 1250 leader skill for Guardians, 750 for water, so his main focus is water, but still very versatile, and you're going to be using him on any team that bears his elements. If you go to his SLB, to his LB, it's 1100 times, because it's 880 plus 220. So 1100, very, very good. And one thing that Tidus does that no one has done before is he is the first CG overdrive unit. So instead of having, you know, that little pixel art cutscene when you activate his overdrive, you're gonna get this instead. Yep, very short, I know. But it's cute, you know, it's nice to have a little something more. And yeah, so that's about it for Tidus. Very good unit. I will be pulling for him and hope to get him. So please pray for my pulls. And now next, Item Master Riku. And we had a little fun on Discord earlier because apparently Google Translate translates Riku to backpack. So, you know, Item Master backpack actually fits her well, especially with her 4-star TMR being a pouch, you know, from a pouch to a backpack. She's evolving. All right, so, and once again, I forgot to do this on her page. Her TMR here, pretty interesting. I will say that's actually very nice. She has the chain speed, so it's not the chain cap, it's the chain speed. So on her TMR, so if you wanted to get that on multiple units, you know, it's going to give them as well 50% dual wield attack, so that's pretty nice. Her STMR is a two-handed fist, so once again another two-handed fist. No, sorry, one-handed fist, but once again a fist user. So you're going to want to have that on her plus her Berserker Riku STMR. And she's gonna have crazy chain speed, so she's always gonna be going first in your chains if ever you're really min-maxing everything in your chain speed. Her categories are Lightning, Water, Light, Guardians, and Battlefield Maidens. So she goes very, very well with Tidus. He covers all her elements. The only one she doesn't have is Ice, but they work very, very well together. You know, she's a guardian, so she benefits from his leader skill. Unfortunately, Tidus is not a maiden, so he doesn't benefit from hers. But I mean, if you have Tidus, why would you put her as the leader anyway? Now, I wonder, should they give the Battlefield Maidens to Cloud because he did drag in the club cutscene where he danced with I forgot his name. The honeybee. Oh yeah, the honeybee. Anyway, sidetracking here. Her EX ability is a 500 flat attack for Battlefield Maidens. So basically, her, Celeste, and the others are mages or not really relevant. If we keep going, she does have an accessory that you can go and farm. It's probably going to be one of the events that we're going to get after maintenance. So a nice accessory with 500 flat attack, go and get that for her. 50% LB damage, so that's very good. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good accessory. Now her kit. On EX1, she gets a 200% lightning in peril. So that's definitely something lightning needed. I think lightning was a little, middle of the pack to back of the pack at all, in terms of relevance lately. Now it's coming back in force and very, very strong with this. So 200% in peril at EX1, so it's very neat. And then she gets the 500 LB damage buff at EX2. Here all the same. She has the ability to escape, yay! And she can steal, so that's cute. She can cure a zombie if ever that was relevant once in the span of this game. So it's just there for flavor, a little bit like Yuna had it before. You're never gonna use that. Now she does have this here, which is it's cute, but once again, those, I'm not a fan of those slot abilities where you get, sometimes this, sometimes that, or sometimes the good thing. So you have a 5% chance of getting all the unlocks from it. Unfortunately, you're rarely gonna get it. and I don't advise anyone re-rolling for this at all. Anywho, if we keep going, she does have an ability here where she has 100% self-amplify to all her elements, lightning, water, and light, and a 400% self-attack buff, so that's pretty nice, along with unlocking some abilities we're going to see below for the chaining. She has a 300% LB buff for everyone, which can't be dispelled. Not very relevant at all, but it can be good in the longer winded fight. 50% general mitt. You're always going to have something better on top of that if you're using a tank, but can be good in DV, I guess. And here, this is where it gets really interesting. So she has a area effect for all her elements, and that's a 70% for all 3 of those elements. That's very, very good. Right there, we can completely forget about Rena. Her light field is useless now, and Earth is already useless from the get-go. So lightning, water, and light are eating good with this, and they are also covered by the 40% imperil field from Tidus, so that's very, very, very good. Now here she has also, because DV reasons, 160 killer buff for insects for all allies. That's very useful, very nice. And she also has usually that Magnus is reserved for ninjas, so I guess Riku's a ninja. So she can imperil 50% for all relevant weapons. So sword, greatsword, katana, staff. Well, staff's not really relevant, but whatever. Rod, spear, and then throwing weapon if you're using Yuffie, I guess, and fist, obviously. So that's very, very good. She has a very good kit in terms of support. Obviously, if she has a good support kit, you know that her damage is going to be a little lacking, but then again, it's not that low. So here in her passive, she has the usual for a non main character unit, let's say. So she has 6 different races covered. She didn't even cover insects though. I didn't notice that. That is very unfortunate. So she gives killer for it, but she doesn't have killers for it. That's a grave oversight. So she can come for killers for the team, but you need to put everything on her so that she can cap. Wow, nice. Anyway, she does have the 200 overcap for the chain cap as a dual wielder, as I think mostly everyone has had ever since it's been added. She also has this 200 times chain speed. So if you're using Berserker Riku and her own TMR, she's going to start at 400. So that's very good. She's not going to lose anything from starting a chain, basically. In terms of her unlocked abilities, so that's her mix abilities, basically, with the cooldown for the slot machine thing I talked about earlier. She does have this one, Mega Bar All, so this is instead of being Bar Farega, Bar Blizzaga and everything, it's all combined in one, so she has Fire, Ice, Lightning, and Water covered by this, 80%. So you can stop bringing a unit on Carbuncle to cast this when you need to give resists to your units, because she also starts the fight with this one, thanks to this passive here. So that's pretty useful. So she can just do this at the beginning of the fight, and she can also multicast it with the rest of her abilities. So it's much better than having someone, being the Carbuncle slave. She does have a little bit of healing and curing stat ailments. She does also have mitigations with the Mighty Guard, a barrier, so that that's cute, but you need to have it with the RNG from the mix ability. So it's never going to be like the thing that's going to save your life, where you can't really, you have to pray to get what you need, basically. Her chaining abilities here, they're not exactly the same as her LB, but they're very, very close. So that's pretty neat. That's what they've been doing for mostly everyone ever since they started doing units like that. Now her leader skill is 1250 to all battlefield maidens and 750 to lightning. So, you know, pretty standard for the good leaders nowadays. So she's bringing the girls together and they're gonna go have a party. There was a special mission that was released during the Star Ocean banner that you needed to go and do the boss rush with all the Grace Trials with Battlefield Maidens. That was definitely a pain in the ass. So I suggest that you don't go and do it unless you have Riku, because she's gonna help pull that party together a lot easier. But it's still just for an STMR Moogle, so is it really worth it? I don't think so. And moving on to her LB, so her LB is 990 times. So, you know, a little lower in terms of overall meta, but still very good, especially for all the support that she's bringing, so it's pretty good. Now, that is all for the new units. This banner is also bringing an NVA Plus for Summoner Yuna. So not the old Summoner Yuna, the one that's the light leader skill Yuna, the one that just got released on Global not too long ago. So an NVA Plus is rarely relevant, and even less relevant when it's an evoker like poor Yuna. So what she gets is actually two things. So she gets this cooldown ability that's probably going to be from clearing a boss to get abilities. So she gets 200% evoke damage. So you used to bring Pinello to give her that. Now she can do it herself, which is nice, but you know, it's evoke damage, so it's never going to really break the meta. And we have better light leaders than her now. And the other thing is she is getting here, so a little increase to her passive and evoke damage and evoke damage and Esper damage. I never remember which one is which, because the game calls it 3 different things and then the wiki calls it 2 different things. So, you know, evoke stats. And then the upgrade she gets from being an NV Plus is 10 times. Same as Evoker from Final Fantasy 3. Unfortunate, really bad. So, you know, she's better than Evoker for sure, but she's definitely not good. Sadly, she's going to be the most massive damage dealer in your teams, but she's there, so that's nice. She's got an NVIDIA Plus, so you just go and awaken her because it's free. Well, free. You just gotta farm the pearls for a few minutes, as opposed to Global, who can't farm pearls at all. And now if we go see Kairos and Ward, got EX, the next couple units got EX bonus abilities. So you know the gotcha abilities, when you get a unit at EX3 and then you keep getting fragments, you can go and unlock abilities at random by feeding the machine fragments. So Kairos and Ward, nothing really to mention except, well, they're getting 2 things. So here, a 5,000 flat attack. 5,000 flat attack. That's how much they need attack, and I don't even think that's enough, sadly. But their LB, the LB buff for them though. So it's a 500 time mod buff plus the 100 for from having Tidus as a CMR or Black Flame Reagan. So it's a 600 times modifier to their subpar LB, bringing them to 900. So that's actually pretty strong considering they're also tag chaining. So it's pretty nice. It certainly won't bring them top of the meta, but you know, it's much better than not having any upgrades at all, so we'll take it. I applaud the creativity they're proving with this. Next one with the EX ability is Laguna. Nothing really great for him. What he does get is a feel, which he really needed to bring him to, you know, better relevance in terms of breaking for water. So instead of having just 160 water break, now he has 185. So that's, that's nice when you're using him. Also, he breaks, 145 for fire, light, and dark. So, he's still versatile, but very outdated. And he also gets the same 500 times modifier for his LB, except his LB is very weak. So that's an 810 overall SLB for him. But you never used Laguna for damage anyway. Next is Sakura the Return and Nicole the Return. They're both the same unit, different elements. There's literally no change and there's literally no difference in what they're getting. So basically what they're getting is just more mod buff to their flood and burst chains. Weirdly enough, Nicole is now stronger with burst, and Sakura is now stronger with flood. I guess to to offset the fact that they're chaining on a different element and wouldn't have a Leer skill from the proper element. It's not like you would ever use these units anyway. They have never been used. They're too clunky to use. I mean, if anyone used these units, props to you. It requires dedication, because you need to cast their LB to get the first mod buff. You need to cast their SLB to get the second mod buff. You need to cast their abilities to get the mod buffs and everything. It's too tedious, and I would never. But all in all, though, as much as I complain about these units, their chaining with flood and burst is actually pretty high for such old units, but still their stats are very low, and you need to bring them both for any for any good results. But I calculated them at about like an 800 times LB for their chaining. So for old units like that, it's not too bad. But the units themselves are still bad. And yeah, so that was about it covering the units. I don't have any information about the events that are coming, unfortunately. I forgot to take the screenshots before the game went into maintenance. I am unprepared. What can I say? I'm a newbie at this. So thank you very much for joining me, and have a great rest of your day. Bye!